pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, let's go around and introduce ourselves. I'm County Commissioner Pat Gerard, Chair of PSTA.
Nikki Day with Bryant Miller Olive, Acting General Counsel.
Gina Driscoll, St. Petersburg City Council.
Vince Cox, Pinellas County.
Jeff Gow, Commissioner, City of Dunedin.
Patty Reed, Councilman for City of Pinellas Park.
Jeffrey Sanders, St. Petersburg City Council.
Renee Flowers, Pinellas County Commission.
Jamie Robinson, Largo City Commission.
David Albritton, City of Clearwater Council Member.
Richard Bennett, Commissioner, North Reddington Beach.
Josh Schulman, St. Petersburg.
And Brad Miller with PSTA.
And it looks like we have Jim Oliver. Oh,
That's correct. Jim Oliver, Vice Mayor, City of Sumner.
all right. And Karen Seal, County Commissioner. Okay. Okay, we need a motion to allow Vice Mayor Oliver to participate in today's meeting by Zoom. Do we have a motion? Okay. Second? Do I have a second? Thank you. Okay, I didn't hear. Okay, did you get that? All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Okay, with Pinellas County Schools starting in 2 weeks, PSTA's Planning Director, Heather Sobush, and Marketing Manager Amanda Baird will highlight how PSTA is working to implement and promote PSTA's new partnership with the school district. I was going to say Heather, but you're not Heather.
Good morning, I'm Amanda Baird. I believe Heather is joining us virtually.
Okay.
Heather, are you there?
Sorry, my thing was muted, but I'm here. Okay. Thank you for that introduction. To kick things off, we actually had a good discussion at the Finance Committee about given that the schools start in just a couple weeks, what are we doing to get the word out about the UPass that we started last year? And so this presentation will give you a little background on the program, just a refresher, and then Amanda will go into our outreach efforts. So again, a refresher, the Pinellas County Schools Partnership was created through an agreement in the fall, and then we kicked it off in January, wherein all students, faculty, staff can ride any PSTA route anywhere, and that includes the trolleys, by just showing their ID badge. Next slide, please. And so why did we do this? We did it because PSTA obviously feels that students deserve reliable, equitable access to public education through transportation. We serve many of the existing Pinellas County high schools and many of the middle schools, and we felt that there are some transportation needs and some gaps in the yellow bus service that we could help to be a solution for, including after-school activities. Next slide. And now we'll pass it on to Amanda.
So when it does come to getting the word out, we did do some initial outreach back in January when the program began, including informational flyers deployed through Peach Jar through Pinellas County Schools that went directly to all parents, and a joint press release at that time. But because it is back to school season, which is the perfect opportunity to create new habits among students and their parents, we are going to do some additional communications this August. Starting, of course, with, again, those joint communications with Pinellas County Schools. They are including information on bus assignment cards, telling parents about their choice, and that all PSTA routes are free. We'll also be redeploying another flyer. Additionally, just as PSTA's marketing and communications team, we are doing some outreach just on our own. We are doing a media blitz. Mr. Miller had a wonderful interview this morning with ABC for their back to school special, and Stephanie Rank, our public relations coordinator, is working on getting some additional interviews similar to make sure that we're getting the word out anytime there's a back to school special. PSTA is mentioned. We'll also be doing some digital advertising on social media, which gives us the ability to push out information specifically targeted to parents and families in Pinellas County when moms and dads are scanning through Instagram or Facebook, they will see our ad. Additionally, we at your seats, you will all see an invitation to a back-to-school giveaway event a week from this coming Saturday on August 6th. This will be in the Tropicana Field parking lot. It's a partnership with the Saturday Morning Shop, as well as several other sponsors. We will be present giving away some school supplies to help fill the backpacks that will be given away. We would love to see you there and have you come meet some of the students and families in Pinellas County. Additionally, at that event, we'll be handing out our flyers, which you'll see a sample of at your seat as well, and fridge magnets for parents to easily throw on their fridge as that reminder of, hey, we can, if we need to go somewhere, if you want an after-school job, you can hop on the bus for free, kind of things. Our public outreach team, led by Bob Lasher, will also be attending several open house events at high schools throughout the county to talk directly to students and their parents about their transportation options. And at all of those events, we will have giveaways and information. And I am happy to answer any questions.
Yes, Commissioner Flowers.
Good morning. Thank you. Wonderful program. I've always been in support of it. That's okay. You can call me whoever you want. Do you have the ability to actually create that pass and hand it to the student when you are at these events, or is there a process where?
All they need to show is their student ID for their school. And Heather has done some excellent work with the operations team, making sure the operators know that there are a variety of different IDs that look different. She's also working directly with the school social workers and administration to make sure that kids who want to ride the bus have some sort of school ID. So.
Okay. That was gonna be, because not all schools have those school IDs.
Correct.
Especially with the elementary kids. And even though they may be elementary, you do have some fifth graders who probably would partake of a bus service, not maybe younger than fifth grade, but that was my concern, was whether or not they would be able, something would be able to be utilized for them to make sure that they're able to ride the bus. And on July 30th, there's like 3 different back-to-school events. I can email that to you. It seems like they're all occurring on the same day at the same time.
Right.
But there are like 3 in District 7. And I know even now, they're bringing some of the athletics, athletic programs back for just training prior to the start of school. So maybe connecting with some of those high schools so that those players know that they can utilize the bus service if they need to get to their 2-a-days practices at the schools. But I really love this program. I think it's fabulous. I think we'll get some good information from it. I know I asked a question before if there was a way that maybe we could track usage to see how that's going, like maybe the first 6 months or something, to see how it's going. So I don't know if we were able to even think about how we would be able to do that, because again, the kids would be showing, I don't know if it was a clicker counter that a bus driver, nothing that's got to be arduous, but like when you go into an event and they click who's walking in the door, something that would give us some idea of how the program's going, how many students may be, or teachers, would be utilizing the bus system. That would be helpful at some point, I think. Fabulous. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is fantastic. I've always been a supporter of the program. As far as outreach goes, I'd like to, and I mentioned this at the Finance Committee meeting, I'd like to see us reach out to the county level PTA so that they can help push that down to the parents. And another area might be club sport programs and other after-school programs. Commissioner Flowers mentioned coaches and those folks who may be able to increase their rosters and are looking for opportunities to get kids back and forth, or at least maybe get them there, and then parents can pick them up. But the more we let all of our stakeholders that interact with our children know that it's a transit option, the better engagement we'll have overall. So
Absolutely.
Just constantly keeping new ideas for new opportunities. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions, or Commissioner Cox? Oh, no. Sorry. It's close.
When it comes to the student ID cards, how confident are we that all those, because I've heard different things, it depends on the school, on how they're used, how they're given out to the students. Is it mandatory that all students have a student ID card?
Heather can speak a little more to how she's working with the schools on that.
Yeah, it is different depending on the schools. I think students that they create them, this is what I found out, recently, they create them when they take the school photos at the beginning of the school year. But then some schools have different policies on whether the IDs stay at the school or can leave the school. So we've worked with a couple of the high schools whose social workers reached out to us, and we found a solution where they can print something and laminate it and give it to their students. So we're accepting those as well. So it's kind of case by case. When we get contacted by different schools, we work with them to try to find a solution.
Okay, all right, because the program will be much more successful if those ID cards actually get into the hands of the students who will use them. Also, just to acknowledge that on August 6th, the back to school, that's Tropicana Field.
Yes.
I think that's wonderful, but if somehow we could work towards also having one somewhere in North County.
Yes, we're
Not
exploring
only because
options.
we have needs in North County, but also it's just PR for PSTA. And so why not be out there into the community? And also just to support that, I like the idea of reaching out to not only just the principals of the schools or the administration, but all those coaches, any performing arts, any teacher that has any club, so that even if that student is hearing it for the second time, that's what it's going to take. It's a second and the third time. And it's not just one time in the announcement at the beginning of the year, that it becomes some standard form of communication to the students and even to the faculty to use PSTA. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner Schulman?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just one more thought. As we're marketing to parents, it occurs to me that it might be also worthwhile to include information about PSTA buses being a safe place, right? So not only is that good information for students to have, but I think it also can add a layer of comfort to parents knowing that our bus drivers are trained to deal with kids or people in our community, experiencing some distress and know what to do. So it is a safe place for kids to go, and there's specific training. So it seems like a good opportunity to put those two together.
Absolutely.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Good idea. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
Councilmember Jeff Gow. Oh, it was a little bit early. The Education Foundation is holding a couple of backpack giveaways from where they collect the school supplies and things, and a couple of them are North County, so I can share that information, and maybe PSTA can connect, because they collect those school supplies, throughout a couple of different stations that they're at throughout the summer, and then they hold the backpack giveaway events. And I know there is one, so I'll just get that information to you guys, and maybe if PSTA can be to some of those, so it's giving away the school supplies, it's North County, giving away school supplies and having this so that it meets the need of North County and Mid-County. You're welcome,
Okay, great.
sir.
Commissioner Driscoll?
Thank you. I think that our city's marketing departments could probably assist as well with our social media platforms, e-newsletters, bill inserts, things like that. I know for St. Petersburg, I'm sure that our marketing department would be more than happy to include a blurb about how this is available and a link to a site to find out more. Anything that you'd like to send our way, I'm sure many of us would be happy to share that on the city level to help get the word out that way.
Yeah, we can definitely do that.
All right, thank you.
Anything else? Yes.
Commissioner Gow, I'd just like, for the record, to let you know that as of last night, the St. Petersburg High School marching band director has been talked to by me.
All right, all right.
When I was getting my daughter. So one down, one club
Yeah, one-
of the 10,000 in Pinellas County is down.
Hey, anyone that has a high school student can share it with their principal.
Do they have a special place for tubas?
On the bus?
That's why I'm going to see.
On the bus, yeah,
Well, you can ride on the bike, right?
yeah, put it in the bike rack, yeah.
Oh, I want a picture of that.
Yeah. Oh, that would be cute, actually,
I really,
you know?
yeah, I might have to talk to that.
Okay. All right, anything else? Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Next up, we have public comment on consent items and items not on the agenda. Do we have anybody would like to speak about the action items this morning? We don't have any cards. No. Okay. All right. Let's see. Consent agenda. We have June 29th minutes, shelter deployment plan, remanufactured alternators, and Sunrunner Design Services contract change order. Does anybody want to pull anything?
Move
Okay,
approval of the consent agenda?
thank you. We have a motion and a second. Did you get the second? Okay. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? What? Oh, voting, yes. Why don't you bring up the voting screen? That would be great.
Changed something.
Where am I this morning? I don't know. Which meeting am I in? Right. Oh, I'm not getting it for some reason, although I did enter the meeting. I'm a yes. Vice Mayor Oliver, we need your vote. Are you still there? No. Vice Mayor Oliver, okay. We need your vote on the consent agenda.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
I vote yes, it's not on my screen.
Yeah, mine's not doing it either. Okay. It's unanimous, so there you go. I'm gonna have to leave and come back again. All right. We only have one report this morning on committees, and that is for the Track Riders Committee. And Committee Chair Mark O'Hara is on Zoom, I think, to give us a report.
Good morning, Chair Gerard, Mr. Miller, and esteemed board members. Track met virtually on July 19th, 2022. Bonnie Epstein gave a refresher presentation on how to use the PSTA Direct Connect service. Direct Connect offers PSTA riders $5 off their Uber, Lyft, and United Taxi trips, $25 for wheelchair riders on wheelchair transport if they start or end their trip at a Direct Connect location. There are 26 Direct Connect locations throughout Pinellas County to connect riders to the PSTA core network. The program operates 7 days a week from 5 a.m. to midnight. Jacob Labruta presented an update on the Transit app, the PSTA endorsed and preferred transit trip planning app in Pinellas County since 2017. He reviewed new features within its platform, including the integration of other modes, such as TNCs and bike share, into its trip planner. He reported PSTA received a grant award from the Federal Transit Administration Accelerating Innovative Mobility, also known as AIM program, to integrate PSTA's first last mile direct connect program into the authority's endorsed trip planning app. Additionally, Transit app has released Transit Royale, a subscription service that provides app users with access to enhanced functionality, features, and customized branding within the platform. Jacob will be presenting this proposed agreement with PSTA to you later this morning. Cassandra Borchers reviewed the October 2022 service changes to the Route 18 and the Central Avenue Trolley that will accompany the new Sunrunner service. The changes included expanding service in the corridor on the Sunrunner to 15-minute limited stop service from 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. and 30-minute service until midnight, truncating the eastern end of Route 18 at Grand Central Station with a continued 20-minute weekday peak frequency and 30-minute base weekday all weekend service into downtown Clearwater through Tyrone. And we would also be reducing service on the CAT from 20-minute frequencies to approximately 30-minute frequencies 7 days a week. At the request of the city of St. Pete Beach, and after careful consideration of maintaining local services on the beach, PSTA will also truncate service on the Central Avenue Trolley at 75th and Gulf Boulevard after 6 p.m. on all days. A public hearing on these changes will be advertised and held on August 11th, 2022. The next track meeting is held on Tuesday, August 16th, 2022, and all board members are always welcome. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mark? Nope, thank you so much. Okay, next up, we have an action item, the FY23 millage rate. Al Burns, PSTA's Budget and Procurement Director, as well as Nick Sagan, will walk us through the trim notice.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. Al Burns, your highly motivated Procurement and Budget Director. The action item this morning is to approve the FY23 millage rate. And with me, accompanying me, is my colleague, Mr. Nick Sagan, and he's going to walk us through that. Nick?
Thanks, Al. Morning, Board. So Nick Sagan, Acting Manager of Financial Planning and Analysis, also known as the Spreadsheet Wizard here. This morning, I'm coming to you with an action item to approve the proposed rate of 0.75 mils to be transmitted to the Property Appraiser's Office. So this is far from the most exciting presentation you all hear today, but a good PowerPoint should hopefully help us power through it. So upon approval, PSDA will transmit the 0.75 mils to the Property Appraiser's Office, and that rate is going to be what shows up on the homeowner's trim notices next month that go out. This is the rate we've had. Oh, there it is. It'll appear just like that. This rate is the max rate that PSTA can set, and it's been the same rate since fiscal year 2016. We do have some good news to share with you this morning. The proposed budget that we presented back in June included $69.3 million in property taxes. Now, with what we know now from the Property Appraiser's Office, we're going to budget $69.8 million. So we're going to add $368,000 to the proposed budget that you'll be receiving in September. So every penny counts, right? So it's a little good news. So what's coming up? In a few months here, the budget and the trim notice are both going to be subject to 2 public hearings. The first one will be on Wednesday, September 14th at 6 p.m. here at PSDA. This is going to be advertised on the trim notice that goes out next month. Following that, we'll have another meeting, same time, September 28th here at PSDA. Following that will be the September board meeting. And at this hearing, we'll approve the final millage rate and the final budget. So again, the rate that you approved today is just the max rate that we can take to the tentative and final hearings in September. Again, the action item today is to recommend approval of the proposed millage rate of 0.75 mils to be transmitted to the Property Appraiser's Office. Madam Chair, I'll hand it back to you and take any questions.
Do we have any questions? I guess you're right.
Thank you.
Not very exciting.
I have a question, if I could.
We have a question.
Was there any thought giving to not maybe reducing the tax rate to the rollback rate, but reducing it by some number? It kind of bothers me that every organization in the county, the towns, the police department, the bus company, the county,
Not the county.
are all going to increase our taxes because our houses are worth more money.
Right, and the
So
consequence.
now we're going to all have somewhere around a 12% tax increase.
So if we do reduce the millage rate, we run the risk of not being able to present a balanced operating budget for the next fiscal year.
So we put together a budget 2 or 3 years ago based on a 12.5% increase in the property taxes in 2022. How's that possible?
Excellent question, Commissioner Bennett. No, we didn't project a 93% increase this year. But we did see where we needed to in 2016, as we looked forward, where we needed to take steps to ensure that we would have balanced budgets going forward, which is why we raised it to the maximum millage rate. In the meanwhile, we also took a look at how can we cut the costs and be more efficient here at PSTA. So we did a lot of steps, as you will hear at the Finance Committee meeting, to be able to reduce expenses. So that's why we're going to maintain it. Our recommendation is to maintain it at the same millage rate. so we can be good stewards and have balanced budgets on the operating side. Any other
Commissioner Flowers?
questions? I've been around a
Thank you.
long time here.
I just want to correct for the record, Pinellas County government reduced its millage rate last year. We reduced our millage rate, well, it's being proposed to reduce our millage rate again this year. We're not going to the rollback rate. I have never been in favor of going back to a rollback rate or zero-based budgeting because it does not justify your forward costs and you find yourself behind the eight ball, much like a lot of the school districts did in 2005 to 2007 when the housing market took a tank. And a lot of those entities went back to the rollback rate and they are still trying to play catch up. Pinellas County Schools was one of them at the time. Our proposed reduction in millage rate with Pinellas County will garner, it's not a whole lot, but it's $117 that the taxpayers will see back in their pockets versus coming to us. Having said that, should we go into a full inflationary status or we continue to see issues with the ability to get goods and services. We see what's going on with Ukraine, a major wheat supplier. So there are going to be issues when it comes to breads and just basic things that we have. Those costs are going to increase. Our cost for fuel is going to increase. Diesel has increased, trying to keep up with paying property taxes along with health insurance increasing. There was a huge article about Democrat, who is the only agency that does the rating for property insurance and how they have undergirded some insurance companies where they've moved out of the state. And so now we have very few people to select from. So I think that what you're doing is moving forward in a prudent way. When you look at our costs and the number of programs we put in place so that residents in the community aren't paying for certain things, but it's still helping them get to their destinations. I think we are making good use of those dollars, and $389,000 in an operation as large as ours is really not a whole lot of money when you think about what we provide and how we provide those services. So, you know, if the time ever comes, I will be the first one to say, you know, we have so much hanging out, and does it equate to what our reserves are and things of that nature. But right now, I think that what has been presented is most certainly appropriate. And I don't see where we have not made the best use of the dollars that we received through ARPA funding and the dollars that we're receiving based on the property sales and how we've been able to garner some of those dollars back into that $300,000+ difference between what we thought we were going to get versus what it looks like we will get for the 0.75 meals. But I just really wanted to go on record to say PSTA did not increase it. I mean, Pinellas County government did not increase its millage rate. I don't want that to get out.
That was a lot of words just to say that.
I know. Well, a lot of words, but then I wanted to go into why, because sometimes, yeah. People
I
wanna know-
understand.
people wanna
I
know
also
why.
want to say that the Juvenile Welfare Board is proposing a reduction in their tax rate. So, Commissioner Driscoll.
Thank you. The city of St. Petersburg is also discussing and in the process of hopefully approving a small decrease in our millage rate as well.
Commissioner Albritton.
For PSTA.
Oh, sorry, I didn't know you were
already done. For PSTA being, you know, one of the most underfunded transit agencies, does truly work miracles on a daily basis with what we have. And that's because Brad and the entire team work together so well and are such good stewards of the funding that we do receive. This is a very small amount. I agree with Commissioner Flowers. There's, in the grand scheme of things, we know how much things cost. We approve them every day. So even this isn't going to go very far, but it's just that little bit more that allows us to say when we're applying for grants, when we're, you know, looking for partnerships, we can say, you know, we're doing what we can to put in our fair share for the things that we need to meet rising demand. And that's what this is all about. Time and time again, we hear from residents who say, if only the buses went more frequently, if only we had more buses, if only more of them were electric. how can we ever get there? How can we ever meet those expectations
I think I
if
just
we don't
turned
make
you
these,
off. I'm sorry.
if we don't make these decisions? So I'm fully in favor of this. I actually wish it was more. And do you have a, Chair, do you have a motion for approval on this yet?
I do not yet, but Commissioner Albritton, did you want to say something?
Yeah, my mic doesn't seem to be working, but I'll try to boom it out there. Just for the record, you know, PSTA is based on, I mean, most of our operating expense is based on fossil fuels right now, and we're, you know, the cost of that is going up, fuel. But I think, you know, we're in a good position because we're gonna be talking about it later on in this agenda, about the conversion to electric and solar power. So, I just wanted to put that out there, because everybody's talking about this millage rate now. Our city's, gonna be approving next week, and we're, you know, talking about maybe reducing it at a later date, you know, before it goes out, but I think, in our situation, we have a handle on it, but, you know, whenever you reduce it, then you gotta, in the future, when budget, things come down, values, then you gotta ask for a raise in it. So, it doesn't mean that much for a homeowner, that difference. It's not that much for us, but, I would be against bringing it down right now because where we are. But I just wanted to put it on the record that we are considering a move out of the fossil fuels into electric.
And as a homeowner who's homesteaded, and I've got my Save Our Homes, it won't impact me very much, even though I'm very pleased to hear what everyone is looking at in their different communities. So this really does help us and help the community that we serve a little bit, that we're getting more.
Commissioner Robinson?
Yeah, my mic's not working either, but I just wanted to make the point, and Commissioner Albritton kind of hinted at it a little bit. This is just to set the millage for the trim notice, correct? So at either time, or in our next two meetings to approve the millage rate, we can adjust it. We just can't go any higher than what we set it at. Obviously, we can't go any higher than 0.75 because we're mandated there, but we can lower it at any point in the two approval notices or in the approval meetings, if we choose to do that, correct?
That is correct.
So it wouldn't make any sense to hamstring ourselves at a lower rate in the trim notice now and then have those conversations later.
Yep.
Okay. Just want to throw that out there.
Commissioner Flowers, did you?
No.
Oh, okay, I think that.
It touched it, so I did
Never
not
mind.
touch it. It came on. I'm serious, it came on.
No, I think you're doing a great job back there. For some reason, the mics aren't working up here. Okay, anybody else? I will entertain a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay,
I heard a couple people, so I got some.
I second.
there you go. Okay. Please bring up the voting screen. Oh, yes, of course I do.
I know we usually have cards, so we don't have any cards up here, but we can check. for it as well.
Okay. Or any members of the public would like to speak on this issue? Hearing none. Can you bring up the voting screen, please? Mine's not coming up still. Yes.
And Commissioner Bennett,
Commissioner Bennett?
My screen's not coming up.
I can take a verbal.
I'd like to have my screen fixed. It didn't come up the last time. What's wrong? Let's get it fixed. I vote no.
Okay. Vice Mayor Oliver?
Yes.
A yes? Okay. Excuse me?
Just gonna ask
Yeah,
Commissioner
mine's
Bennett
not
if you
working
clicked on
either,
the
but
word join.
I went out and joined again and it still doesn't work. Okay. 12 to 1. Thank you. All right. We have a presentation. Trish Collins is going to explain what's in the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Plan.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
I'm Trish Collins, the Director of Human Resources and EEO Officer here at PSTA. And I am excited to bring you PSTA's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Plan and ask for your adoption of it. Like many organizations and people all over the country, in spring, summer of 2020, we saw the civil rights actions that were happening, and we recognized this as a call to action. And I'm very proud that our CEO, Brad Miller, immediately recognized the importance of the moment and directed that advancing DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, be a top priority here at PSTA. We created our first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Plan in partnership with every department in the organization. And it is based on the guiding principles in our Sustainable Strategic Plan, which sets the overall priorities for the agency. Those priorities are healthy community and workforce, environmental sustainability, and economic vitality. And we have set goals in a Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Strategic Plan to advance those principles in all three of those areas. Under the overarching principles in the Sustainable Strategic Plan, the DEI Strategic Plan focuses on our workforce, our workplace, and our community. And it contains goals in each of these areas. Our workforce goals center on outreach to the community, getting as many diverse applicants from as many parts of our community as we possibly can, identifying and eliminating obstacles in our hiring process, and connecting with community partners to forward those aims. This year, I'm happy to say we've expanded outreach greatly. We've done more advertising and promoting to job seekers all over the county than we ever have before. And we've also redesigned our website with the idea that representation matters. We have more pictures and more about our culture, our employees at PSTA, because we want everyone to look at us and know that they belong here. Our workplace goals in the strategic plan are built on our culture of inclusion, respect, and belonging. And they center on elevating and responding to our employees' voices, our continuing commitment to pay equity, and accountability. This year, I'm happy to say we have launched 5 employee-led employee resource groups that center on different aspects of identity, like multicultural magic, disability accessibility. We have a working parents group, a veterans group, and a pride group. And these groups are all employee-led, and they are becoming important stakeholders and voices in our organization. We also have just launched our 3rd employee engagement survey, where we will hear from all employees around the organization. And this year, we've specifically included questions about diversity, equity, and inclusion. We also have built diversity, equity, and inclusion goals into every level of our scorecard to enhance that accountability. And thirdly, our commitment in our strategic plan to our community. As you all know, we are visible proponents of diversity, equity, and inclusion, celebrating heritage all year long with our community. We also are signatories for the Pinellas Race Equity Leadership Council racial equity commitment, and we were the first signatories in the country for the APTA, the Association of Public Transportation, American Public Transportation Association, our industry group. We were the first signatories for their racial equity commitment. These goals in our community section focus on public-facing celebrations, which we do all year long, expanded economic impact to minority and small business-owned enterprises, and equitable customer services. This year, as you know, we have celebrated many diverse cultures in our community, including Juneteenth for the first time, Pride, the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Parade. We celebrate the Asian American Pacific Islander Month, Women's History Month. We've also had great success with our DBE goals. I will shout out our highly motivated procurement team for their driving success in that area. And as many of you have heard through the planning committee, we've developed an equity assessment tool, and that allows us to consider equity factors when we're deciding, making decisions about vehicle and amenity distribution throughout the county. So a full set of goals in all of these areas is included in the DEI strategic plan, as well as the reporting tools that we use to monitor and evaluate our success in these areas. That includes workforce demographics, where we compare our workforce demographics to those of Pinellas County, the Pinellas County population, as well as employment activity reports that look at things like our applicant diversity, the aggregate progress through the hiring process, as well as key indicators like promotions and turnover. So this strategic plan sets our mission and our strategy for advancing DEI meaningfully and visibly at our workplace, with our workforce, and in our community. And so I'm asking today for your approval to adopt this as our first DEI strategic plan. We did bring this to the executive committee 2 weeks ago, and they unanimously recommended that the board approve it. And I would like to hand it back over to our chair for any questions.
Thank you. Do we have any questions? Yes, Commissioner Flowers.
Not a question, but a comment. First of all, thank you for the breakout as it relates to race regarding the overall population of the county and then within PSTA structure. It's really good to see the numbers kind of balancing out for minorities versus, or persons of color, versus Caucasian individuals, both in your administrative support services as well as your technical maintenance, hands-on. I would love to see the officials and administrators numbers increase, but again, that is certainly based on the individuals that are applying for those positions and whether or not they have the qualifications for those positions. Having said that, then that says to me, maybe we need to focus more on making sure that we are sharing the opportunities on those levels with persons of color, so that they would consider coming into this arena for employment versus other corporate structures.
Absolutely.
But very good report. Thank you.
Thank
Very
you.
first good steps. Appreciate you.
Yes, thank you. Anybody else? I will entertain a motion. Oh, sorry. Do any members of the public like to speak on this issue? I'm terrible. No? Nothing? Okay, I will entertain a motion.
Move approval of the DE&I report.
Second.
Who said, was that?
Ms. Oliver's a walk
Yes.
down.
All right. Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Oliver, please bring up the voting board, even though some of us can't do it. I'm a yes. I'm still not getting it. Commissioner Oliver?
I'll vote yes.
Okay. Commissioner Oliver, what's your vote?
I vote yes.
Okay, thank you. It is. I did, okay, yeah. It is unanimous, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Next up, transit app improvement agreements. I understand when PST Finance Committee voted to recommend these agreements, they asked staff to present these contracts to the full PSTA board to highlight the app and PSTA's Direct Connect program. Jacob? We'll do
Great,
the
thank you,
others.
Chair.
Okay.
Good morning. Oh, good, there's my Phantom White right there. Thank you, Chair. Good morning. I'm Jacob Levitka, a senior planner here at PSTA. Sorry I can't be there in person, but I'm really excited to present this to you today. So today, we are recommending approval of integration and data sharing agreements with Transit App to move forward with an FTA grant-funded project through their Accelerating Innovative Mobility program to integrate our first last mile program, Direct Connect, into Transit App. And just as a quick refresh, the Direct Connect is PSTA's first last mile program that allows riders to receive a reduced price trip on primarily Uber and Lyft, but also United Taxi and Wheelchair Transport to one of 26 locations in the county that allows riders to be able to access that that first last mile and be able to utilize our bus stops even if they may not live close to one. Next slide, please. So we received $120,000 from FTA's Accelerating Innovative Mobility Program to integrate Direct Connect into transit apps. And a really great thing about this is that our in-kind match for this program is going to come from transit apps. So to use an acronym that Debbie likes to use all the time, this will use OPM or other people's money. That's obviously a really great thing about this. And so in order to move forward with this, we've drafted integration and data sharing agreements with transit apps. And so I'd like to spend a little bit of time, next slide please, going over the differences between how you utilize Direct Connect today versus how you would use it in the future. So today, if you want to plan a Direct Connect trip, you might do two things. So first, you probably start with your transit app to be able to, figure out what your trip looks like overall. So I have a sample trip shown on the screen here, starting on the left in the transit app trip planning interface. There's a trip that would be an origin of the PSTA offices with a destination, which is just a random address in Northern Shore Acres. And so the only trip option that is shown on the screen on the left is to take the Route 4 down to 62nd Avenue North on 4th Street, which is a Direct Connect stop, and then it has the rider walking the rest of the way. I don't know about you, but it gets rather hot here, and I probably wouldn't want to walk that 2 miles, so that is definitely where our first last mile program comes in handy. So you then have to get out of the transit app and to go either into the Uber or Lyft app and make sure that you put in the correct steps to activate Direct Connect within that platform. So you can see here on the screen on the right what that Direct Connect trip looks like with that $5 discount applied. And so although Direct Connect, obviously is a great program that really allows riders to, have that first last mile piece to their transit trip, it's not always the most intuitive, and obviously it doesn't show up on the trip planner, so riders would have to know about it. Next slide, please. So what we seek to do with this FTA grant program is to make this more seamless for riders, and we can have riders who utilize transit app, we can have them directly know through that platform that Direct Connect is an option. So shown here is a sample trip out of Chicago with a few options under the Transit Plus category that's shown on the first screenshot on your screen here. So Transit Plus is essentially groups of trips that combine transit with other modes of transportation. So shown here are modes like bike share, scooter share, and TNCs like Uber and Lyft. So for the sample trip shown here today, I selected the third option, which combines a trip on the Red Line in Chicago with Curb, which is essentially another company like Uber and Lyft. So I've selected that one, so it shows the trip and the price, and then pops the second screen that just shows the full trip and what that looks like. And then over on the third screen is just, you scroll through a little bit, and it shows you that full trip and how you would make that connection from transit to the TNC. So essentially, it gets you up to the point of requesting your ride on Uber or Lyft, and then so you hit the request button, and then it would immediately take you to Uber or Lyft, whatever your preferred TNC is, and everything would already be populated within that app to book. So it definitely makes it a more seamless experience for riders. And so this is an integration that Transit App has already worked on. And something that this grant will allow us to do is to integrate our particular program with their interface. Namely, the fact that we give $5 off Uber and Lyft rides. And additionally, Transit App will be able to account for the fact that there's only 26 qualifying locations that allow riders to receive that $5 off. So that will be integrated within this trip planner, so riders have a more seamless trip planning and booking experience on Direct Connect. Next slide, please. So we are expected to launch this about 5 months after the agreements are executed. So we anticipate by later this year or early next year for this to be able to go live. And we will have funding from the AIM grant program for a period of about 3 years to keep this funded. So this will be funded entirely through this grant program through about the end of 2025. And in conjunction with this, something that Transit App has said they will do for us, some of you may have already started seeing advertisements for Transit Royale. This is Transit App's newest subscription-based service that allows riders to keep all of the existing features of the Transit app, but also allows for some enhanced customization and branding features. So during the time, once this is launched later this year or early next year, Transit app is going to provide Transit Royale at no cost to PSTA. In some larger markets, riders will purchase this at $4.99 a month, but mid-sized agencies like PSTA have typically purchased this on behalf of riders. But since we're going to be paying them through the AIM program, in return, they're going to be giving this to us at no cost once this goes live. So just another way that we can have an even more enhanced app experience for our riders. Next slide, please. And so once again, we are recommending approval of the integration and data sharing agreements with Transit app to proceed with this FTA-funded AIM project to integrate Direct Connect into Transit app. And with that, Chair, I'll pass it back to you, and I'm happy to take any questions.
Looks like Commissioner Flowers has a question.
Yes, thank you so much for your presentation. So since this grant covers us through 2025, do we know what cost it would be to PSTA to continue this service past 2025?
Yes, at the, well, at least what they're currently quoting us, so through the grant, we are paying Transit app about $2,000 a month for the operations and maintenance of this service. I'm not sure if they would maintain that same price in 2025 or if there would be a price increase, but at the current price, it would be $2,000 a month.
Okay, and then what about the Transit Royale? Our customers would get that at no cost to them, but I'm sure there probably may be a cost after 2025, or
Yes.
we would absorb
Yes,
that?
so that is currently quoted also at about $2,000 a month.
Okay, so $4,000 a month roughly for the two?
Correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Okay. Do we have any members of the public who would like to speak on this issue? No? Okay. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move approval.
Thank you.
Second.
We have Commissioner Schulman and Flowers. I did. Yeah.
That's 48,000 from that 368,000.
Yeah,
Say what?
right.
Oh, yeah, okay. Okay. Vice Mayor Oliver, what do you vote? Yeah, no, I'm just. Vice Mayor Oliver. Vice Mayor Oliver, what is your vote?
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
I'm not sure why you're not hearing me, but yes.
Okay, thanks.
Transit.
Yes, I am
Go
yes.
into your app store.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Go in your app store.
I could pitch a hissy fit, but it's not working. Okay, thank you.
And then it'll show you.
Next issue. Master service agreement with Duke Energy. Avishai Dayal, who is standing right there, and Henry Lukasik will present the two agreements with Duke Energy needed for electric bus charging.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the board. My name is Abhishek Dayal, Director of Project Management, and I'm joined here by an all-star cast here, our Chief Financial Officer, Debbie Leas, and Director of Facilities and Maintenance, Henry Lukasik. This is truly a very historic item that we're presenting to you today, and it's a two-part recommendation. Part one is approving a master service agreement with Duke Energy One for a not-to-exceed amount of $5.4 million for the purpose of installing, operating, and maintaining electric vehicle charging infrastructure over a 10-year period. And then the second part is authorizing reimbursement to Duke Regulated, or Duke Energy Florida, as they're officially called, for installation of switches and transformers for a not-to-exceed amount of $157,000. Now, if you recall, several months ago, PSTA board had approved a 5-year contract with Gillig to purchase 60 all-electric buses. Now, that essentially put us really in high gear to increase our electric fleet. from a current 6 to 68, with 2 pending from a prior contract, from a prior purchase. Now, all of these buses, they will require fairly substantial electrical infrastructure and installations, including EV chargers, switch gears, utility rooms, transformers, and this is where Duke will help us with that. Now, if you recall, a few months ago, I had shared this graph that shows our journey into electric fleet transition. We started off kind of modestly in 2018 with 2 electric buses, and we've slowly ramped up our electric fleet to 6 that we currently have. And then in 2024, we expect 14 buses to come in, so that will essentially increase our fleet to 20. So as I noted, we do need that electrical infrastructure to support those buses coming in 2024. And this graph here shows you the timing on when we have to have all the electrical infrastructure in place for those 20 buses to come in. Now, similarly, that's going to impact our energy usage also. And as you can see here in this graph, our energy usage mirrors the electric fleet that are coming in, with a substantial increase in 2024 with more buses coming in a couple of years. So we've been working with Duke for several months now to come up with a plan and a program for getting in those buses in 2024. And to tell you more about this plan, I'm going to invite Henry Lukasik, our Director of Fleets and Facilities, to talk more about that. Henry?
Thank you, Abhishek. So as you know, big buses have big chargers and it requires big power to charge those buses, and what better opportunity than it is to partner with the local utility to provide this power. If you're at the Finance Committee, we got into the technical weeds as always with the infrastructure. We'll keep it to a high level here, but very quickly, this pretty much sums up a year project that we have ahead of us. Duke is going to provide the materials and the labor to install all of the underground conductors or high voltage lines, 12,000 volt electrical lines to be exact. And PSTA, of course, will provide the 200 kilowatt plug-in chargers for the buses. In the middle of the diagram, especially in the dotted line, this represents phase 1. As Abhishek mentioned, we're going to be putting in new electrical transformers to give us the power we need at the voltage we need, and of course switchgear, which is really just a bigger name for a breaker panel similar to what's in your home, but realize ours will be 15 times greater than what services a home on average. And of course our chargers at the bottom. Now everything to the right, remember when we're setting ourselves up for the future, we will be having more buses coming in later years, 60 to be exact. So we want to make sure what we do now at phase 1 is going to leave us open for future installations. You'll see we have a generator. We do not have a generator under this project, phase 1, but we want to leave the option open for the future. And then, of course, as you've heard in previous discussions, solar panels. If you're familiar with our bus lot, you're familiar with this layout. So for those that are not, we have 11 rows in the bus lot for parking, and they are lettered A through K. This work will be focusing on, if you look to your right, the 2 areas that are shaded blue. And if you look to the diagram on your left, you will see 2 outlines, one red, one blue. The one in red will be phase 1, where chargers 1 through 12 will be installed. Typically, our rows hold approximately 21 to 23 buses, depending upon configuration. And as you can see, construction will be in rows B, C, D, and E under phase 1. Phase 2, 3, 4, and 5 will be similar. And the reason that we are doing that is at the bottom left-hand corner, you'll see a couple of boxes in a
bigger box, those represent transformers that Duke will be installing. One transformer can power 12 chargers. And as we all know, the shortest path between 2 points is a straight line, so of course everything will be underground. We will be using directional boring, and so that's why we will be going across 4 rows vertically instead of horizontally across 1 row. That's why they can lay the conduit over itself. With that, I'll be happy to turn it over to Debbie Leas.
Thank you, Henry. And I want to take you back to February. And back in February, we brought to the board an agreement with Duke Energy, and that was for a comprehensive assessment of this project. As you might recall, it was to cost us $100,000. I'm very pleased to say is with us moving forward, it will not cost us anything. So I always love that piece of it. And this is Henry and Abhishek had said, this is phase 1 of our projects for the next series of buses, 12 buses coming in. And time is really of the essence as we are moving forward. We've got a lot of buses that will be coming in, and we're going to be ordering a lot more. Now, what is really nice about this project from our aspects, from a staff aspect, is it's turnkey, which means that they will not only do the work, they will operate and maintain this. This is a new adventure for us, and I always like to have the experts be able to take the first steps, and we'll learn quite a bit from that. The cost on this over a 10-year period for the service lease agreement is $5.4 million. That will be paid for out of our reserve funds. But what's really important, as Commissioner Albritton was alluding to, is with going forward with electric buses, we're going to be saving a lot of money, not only on maintenance, but on the diesel fuel. This project will pay for itself. So essentially, it'll be no cost to PSTA in very short order. However, as we move forward in the other phases, I've already am beginning to set aside federal funds for this, for the next phases, so that it won't have any cost to PSTA, and we'll just continue to build the savings piece of it for us. So before, the other piece of this is on the Duke regulated side. We will be putting in, they will be putting in installing 2 pad mount switches and a transformer for $157,000. Now, when I first went into this, I said, I don't know what is that? And it's basically a ground-mounted electric power distribution transformer that's in a steel cabinet on a concrete pad. I've sort of picture in my head as you go through some communities, those big boxes. Some communities, like in Dunedin, paint them up beautifully, but that's what we are going to be putting out there for the $157,000. Before I really move into the final recommendation, I wanted to say thank you and introduce you to 2 people in the audience here. We have Doug Voda, who is our Business Development Manager on the Duke Energy One side, and Laura Whitted, who's on the regulated side, Duke Energy Florida. I cannot tell you how many countless hours we have spent with them over the last few months. And I also wanted to say thank you to Nikki Day from BMO, who's also been a very good shepherd and partner in making sure we get this done expeditiously. So appreciate all the time and effort in that. So to circle back, our recommendation today is to approve a master lease agreement with Duke Energy One for $5,436,000 for the installation, operations, and maintenance of our electrical vehicle charging infrastructure for 10 years. Again, this will pay for itself out of the savings that we'll garner. And secondly, to authorize reimbursement to Duke Regulated, which is for the installation of the switches and transformer for $157,000. Are there any questions for Abhishek, Henry, or myself?
Commissioner Schulman beat you to it.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So back in February, you had mentioned it, that we approved an agreement to have Duke provide us with the design to come back and say, this is what the infrastructure and things that we need to put in place. So my question at this point is, have we done any sort of competitive procurement process to understand whether this 5.4 million, right, we're saving 100,000 if we go with them, or 150, whatever the number was, but is the full cost appropriate given other vendors that might be able to complete that work?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. Something we asked too, and we did our own independent assessment using our own engineers to perform that assessment, that if we were to go out and do the similar scope of work ourselves, how much would that cost? And they came out to be very competitive. I'll also add that recently copper prices came down a little bit, so we actually went back and negotiated with Duke, and we were able to bring the cost down also to recognize the reduced copper prices. So we did our own independent assessment, and they were very comparable.
So you said we did an independent assessment. That was with whom?
With our own engineering services that we have, a contract that we have, that's a separate contract, not related to Duke. It's completely separate. We gave them a similar scope of the work that Duke was going to perform and asked them to do their own assessment on if we were to go out and build this infrastructure ourselves, how much would that cost and how much would it cost to operate and maintain. Same deal, and then they came up with their own assessment, and we did a side-by-side comparison, and they were very competitive.
So, and I appreciate us doing that. When we do other procurements, we review those side-by-side comparisons from when we ask for other vendors. So I'm surprised that we're not, as a board, looking at what that analysis was and making sure that what's here, makes us feel comfortable that we're signing a $5 million contract with the most competitive and appropriate bidder. So I'm a little surprised that we don't have that. This is also, Debbie, you mentioned it's $45,300 over 10 years. Is that just how you're amortizing it out, or is it actually paid out over $45,300 per month?
It is paid out that way, so every month we'll get an invoice for that dollar amount.
Okay, and I'm unfamiliar with, I don't know, gigawatts of energy or whatever we got coming in here, but is maintenance really something that's a big concern over time? Or, because it's a maintenance and service agreement.
I'm a little biased, but as the director of maintenance, everything requires maintenance over time. Especially in our area here where there's hurricanes and there's also damaging winds, so on and so birds, so on and so forth. So yes, it is, and with this type of high voltage equipment, this is not something you can call your neighborhood electrician to come over and attempt to diagnose, because we are working with gigawatts of electricity at any given time. So to have Duke Energy with dedicated staff at home base, their operations center, monitoring this for us, and of course we will get priority service in case there is an outage. It is definitely worth it.
And the maintenance service agreement does that cover the charge point blocks that we're providing, or is that just the infrastructure that Duke is installing?
So the charge point chargers do carry a 5-year warranty with a maintenance that we have structured with ChargePoint on our behalf, and Duke will be doing the installation. So yes, they will cover everything up to the charger. We already have warranties in place for the chargers themselves.
And at the end of 10 years, we're going to be looking at then reinstating some sort of maintenance contract at that time? Is that the expectation?
Well, I think we're going to evaluate how this goes, since this is kind of the first step into this arena. One thing I just also wanted to add here is, as you noted on the electric vehicles themselves, we usually start small, incrementally, and then sort of grow through that. And we're taking a similar approach here, since this is kind of our first foray into electric infrastructure. So that's why this agreement is only for the first 12 vehicles that are coming in. We will evaluate how that goes and then take appropriate action after that.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Seal. No, you're good.
So in the presentation, it mentions that in the future, you're going to have an external backup generator. But what happens in the meantime if we have a hurricane? I mean, what do we do about getting them charged?
So currently, PSTA does have a 1.4 kV. Okay, we have a very big generator here, and it's 15 years old, and we do have the ability to charge 6 buses right now with the current generator. So it's not the long-term solution, but in a pinch, in a hurricane, we will have the ability to charge buses piecemeal to keep us going.
Okay.
And that's also, I just would add, that's also an obligation of Duke's under the agreement. That's one of the reasons why it's, you brought up the point of it's a service delivery agreement. They're required to, when we plug that in, make sure that there is power there. So in terms of getting power back online after a hurricane, PSTA would also be able to be prioritized by going with a partner such as this that's also the regulator and provider.
Okay. My other question is probably for Debbie, is the net fuel savings in the first 5 years will pay for this, but does that include the additional electricity that we have to buy?
It does, yeah.
I might have missed that.
No, you did not miss that, but that was a great question, I think, because we've talked about it in some of the other meetings, probably more in detail. Yes, that's net.
That's net.
That's net. Mhm.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Any other questions? Do we have any members of the public that would like to speak to this? No? Okay, I will entertain a motion then. Who said that? I'm sorry, was that Commissioner?
Renee Flowers.
Okay, that was Commissioner Flowers and Commissioner Driscoll. Please bring up the voting board that I won't have. I am a yes.
Yours came up.
Oh, well, because they did it. Because I still don't have it. Commissioner Oliver?
Yes.
Vice Mayor? He is a yes, okay.
Yes.
All righty. Okay, that is, passes 12-1. Brad, do you want to update us on reports in our packet and upcoming meeting subjects?
Yes.
Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I wanted to highlight in your packet, under reports and correspondence is our normal performance updates, and then also the October 22 service changes, which Mark from our Riders Committee did highlight, that we're very excited, and you also have at your places a invite. I hope you have it all on your calendar to join me on October 21st for the opening of our little project Sunrunner. We are making adjustments, as Mark identified, to a number of other routes that operate on First Avenue North and South, the Central Avenue Trolley, and Route 18. Overall, there is a very substantial service increase to riders. We don't think there'll be a lot of negative comments, but we are having a public hearing on August 11th here at PSTA, and then that will come back to the planning committee, at your planning committee in August, with any comments we receive, and then a vote to make those adjustments when Sunrunner opens on October 21st. Speaking of Sunrunner, make sure you save the date on your calendar. We're working hard to prepare a very exciting event for there. Also, looking forward to the next couple of weeks. On Friday, August 5th, at the PSTA Personnel Committee, my favorite time of year, will have its first of two meetings this year. We've done it. We agreed to change the schedule a little bit after last year to try to coordinate adjustments for all the employees at the same time, so that, unlike last year, the adjustments to our labor costs that are in our union agreements will coincide with the adjustments for administrative employees. And all take place on October 1st. On August 5th, the Personnel Committee will recommend the very, I think, easy format for all of you, all the board members to fill out, to do your evaluation of me. But at the same time now, the Personnel Committee will hear a presentation and make a recommendation to the board on the compensation adjustments for all the employees to include in the budget, in the budget that you'll approve in September. So that's the new change. I think the committee, the second committee of the Personnel Committee, when all of your evaluations are due back, and they will review that and make a recommendation, is in early September. Where's my other notes? Here we go. As was mentioned earlier, we're excited for school to start on August 10th with our new partnership with Pinellas County Schools, but something else we are perhaps even more excited about is going to happen on August 10th. Let me call up Nick Sagan, who is in our current Leadership PSTA class, to talk about their cool class project.
Good morning again. I'm back. So yeah, the leadership class of 2022 is planning to host a career fair. We're really excited to announce it to you all. It's going to be, like Brad said, on August 10th from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. So mark your, 9 a.m. to noon. So mark your calendars. It'll be, again, here at PSTA in the boardroom. Our goal of this is, it's our community impact project. The class does it every year. And the impact we're hoping to have is to connect job seekers who are current writers with or not people who currently aren't writers that can potentially become writers, connect them with employers along our routes, so that way people can effectively utilize public transit as a solution to their daily commutes. Currently, we have more than 15 employers, big and small businesses, but a few agencies you might all be familiar with. The county is going to have a couple tables. The city of Largo is interested in participating, city of Clearwater, city of St. Pete, and I think we're in contact with a couple other agencies. So if you know anyone who would like to attend, please spread the word. Thanks.
Thank you.
Yeah, great.
All right. Do we have any other business to discuss? What?
There was the service changes.
Oh, we did that. Commissioner Schulman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Actually, my comment was about the service change. So we're having the public hearing for that service change here at PSTA. It would seem to me that the Route 18 services Clearwater down to the Grand Central, and that's where it's going to be terminating. Is it possible for us to find a location that's more convenient to the riders of the 18?
Yeah.
Than having them come over to the PSTA headquarters, since it's going to be impacting that group?
We did look into that, especially, and I think probably one of the more significant changes is the elimination of Central Avenue Trolley after 6 p.m. when Sunrunner opens up in St. Pete Beach. That was requested by the city, and so we were trying to have maybe the hearing in St. Pete Beach. We were unable to get the city to agree to that, so we're going to have it here. On the 18. The service is proposed to be eliminated from Grand Central into the downtown St. Petersburg. We think we do have notices about the change at Grand Central now that are out there now. We'll certainly take any kind of phone call or email public. Our folks take public comment at the window. We think we think we can get the public comment that we need.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Commissioner Cox.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hey, Mr. Miller, Mr. Miller, on the access tracking.
Yes.
Under the performance updates, could you update us on where we're at with manual trip assignments with access? There's no target date on there right now?
Yeah, thank you, Commissioner Cox. So in your packet, in the performance updates, is our monthly tracking sheet for PSTA access performance. And I was very happy to see that things continue to make good progress. On-time performance is staying high, and complaints are down, and ridership is up, which is all good. We are moving forward with the manual trip assignments, a number of milestones with our software to make things even better, I think. The automatic scheduled lunch breaks and things like that are in pilot phase right now. We changed this form because to follow more closely with our actual contract. That those dates of going live and everything are being worked on and collaboratively with our software provider and our vendors and our operators. So they're going through different tests. Hopefully next month, we're gonna work with them over the next month. I've asked them to work and come up with dates on exactly, on the phased implementation of these different things. But yeah, the manual reassignments is a key under what is called Project Manta. That's what the software company proposed to us a couple months ago. And then next month, I'm excited to we'll have a more detailed presentation of what is listed basically as phase 2 of the implementation. A lot of the improvements that we're making, we have a rider, an app for the first time, that riders can use an app, which is gonna be fantastic for a lot of our riders because no longer will they have to make a phone call at certain hours. They can do that, they can schedule their trip 24/7 by just planning it on the app. So we're gonna be presenting that to you next month too.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other questions, comments, issues for the good of the order? If not, we are adjourned. Gone.
Thank you.
Good job there,
Thank you.
Madam Chair. Madam Vice Chair. Good job.
So when we agreed to that,
Here's my-
I said at the same time at that time,
Oh.
this is great. We're gonna do this
I want to, she made me remind me. I need to go on by-
Delegating.
I got things